Sorry, my wife is asking me why I'm saying good evening to you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well today.
Good.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, it's fine. You're a bit sort of low volume, but try your best. Could you perhaps can you increase the microphone level a bit, or can you get nearer to it? Or
Oh, so I turn up the microphone.
yeah, it'd be better. Or just get a bit nearer to it. Sorry,
Okay. Oh,
my wife tells me off for my booming voice. I'm sorry.
okay. It's okay. Can you hear me
That's
well?
better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Um.
Ready when you are.
So, I will talk about a current economic policy of Vietnam that the four outbreak of epidemic starting from the April at the end of April. So it's put a heavy pressure um, on the social economic life and the social economic life and at this four epidemic at this four epidemic
Hold
um,
on.
at this four epidemic um, it had affected to the whole southern province, and Ho Chi Minh City is the worst affected by COVID-19. So the government had to use many economic policy to maybe control the situation and um, reduce the pressure on economic and um,
Yeah, go on. Carry on.
and thirdly I will talk about the social distancing policy. um,
Yeah.
you know the government implemented a social distancing policy, so all of the um, all of the restaurant and the non-essential shop had to close. And then because of the COVID situation was so serious at some company, factory and manufacture, so they forced the people to close all of the company and the factory, but they don't allow the citizen, the poor worker, to come back to their hometown. I don't know why, and I think that is the bad policy of Vietnam in that period, because the citizen and the poor worker, they left their hometown and moved to another city like Ho Chi Minh City because they want to have more job opportunity and want to have more um, maybe a better life, but uh, just staying at home for without working for 5 or 6 months will make them running out of money. And when the government reduce and ease the distance policy, there was a bad situation that most of the citizens and the poor worker, they left Ho Chi Minh City and come back to their hometown. And I think that's a terrible situation because it will lead to another bigger problem like the shortage of workers in company in Ho Chi Minh City, and it will make the COVID situation um, of their hometown be more complicated. And
Yeah.
and one more thing about distance policy is because the company have to close, so it make them stop the production, and it will make them to lose the capital and bankrupt, and many international company and foreign company have announced that if the government do not restrict the law or remove the distance policy, they will not invest anymore, and they will leave Ho Chi Minh City to move to another city or another country, because they don't want to waste time and they don't want to waste money like that.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Oh yes.
Um, do you think that the threats of the foreign companies would really be carried out because of the investment that they have already made? Also, the wage rates that they are paying in Vietnam are much lower than they would be paying elsewhere. Do you think that threat would really be carried out by the foreign companies, that they would leave or finish investing in Vietnam?
Um, I don't know. I think they just announced that to put the pressure on the government of
Yeah,
Vietnam.
yeah. It's a bargaining position, isn't it? They're trying to, as you say, pressurize the Vietnamese government into relaxing the restrictions on the workers.
Yes,
Yes?
yes, yes.
Yeah. You also mentioned that the government directed that the companies lay off or stop the workers or stop the industries producing. So the factories were closed. Yes?
Oh yes.
Did did the government give any support to the factories and to the workers, because presumably the factories lost production and couldn't sell their goods, and the workers lost their wages?
Oh yes. Uh, the government have some
Yeah,
support package to the company, the factory, and maybe they have announced uh, some measure to reduce the taxes.
you've frozen a bit. Sorry, carry on. But did they give any support in lieu of wages to the workers, or were they overlooked?
Oh yes, same as that. They have some lively support package uh, to the poor worker and the people have
Yeah,
suffered the damage from the COVID-19. Like my mom. My mom have some money. Uh,
yeah.
they give my mom
So
some
she,
money.
yeah. So, so there was a degree of support for the worker and the smaller businesses, like your mother, who is a businesswoman.
Yes, but I think it's
Yeah,
just a small amount. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Not enough.
yes,
It's not sufficient. Insufficient.
yes. My mom had to close the store for maybe 2 or 3 months, and they give just
Yeah,
a small amount, and
yeah.
it's really funny, you know.
Mm. Right, right. You said that they didn't want the workers to go back to their hometowns.
Yes.
Why do you think they did that? The
Um,
government, that is.
Maybe I think the government do not expect the situation like worse at that period. Maybe they should think that we close the company maybe for 1 month, not 5 or 6 months, and they force people to stay at Ho Chi Minh City because they don't want to spread the
Yeah,
disease.
yeah, that spread the disease, the COVID. They don't want COVID to spread outwards around the country.
Yes, but I think that's not good idea.
Okay. I think when restrictions are placed on business and the politicians, the people by the politicians, there is always an element of unfairness. Do you know what I'm saying?
No.
It's unfair. It is not reasonable. It is unreasonable on the
Oh, oh,
people.
oh yes.
Yeah, and people like your mother who had to close her business, but for 4 months. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. Yeah,
4 months.
yeah, yeah. But do you not see it as part of the wider strategy to halt the spread of COVID?
Oh, maybe. Uh,
I don't know.
maybe is that one of the a lots of strategy of the government, but I think they not do in an effective way.
Yeah. You may not be surprised, but there were similar criticisms of the measures taken in England by the government, that the support for the people, the support for industry, the closure of businesses, the closure of factories were all seen as a negative thing the longer it went on. As you say, very correctly, that initially the Vietnamese government only saw it as happening for 1 month, but in fact it's gone on for much longer. Yeah, in
Yes.
time. I agree with every point you've made. You've made them quite well so far. Do you want to carry on?
Uh, um, yeah, the 2 and 3 bond of me is the government support for um, the factory and the worker. So I move to the next point. Okay.
Carry on, yes.
Okay. The wood policy of Vietnam is that they try to prevent the spread of the disease so as not to re-epidemic, and maybe they want to create more condition for expansion of international relation, and especially trade, and they do a lot of things to promote um, for the vaccine diplomacy and medical diplomacy, and uh, and uh, um, they take advantage of the timely and the effective support of the international community on vaccine
Yeah.
and medical equipment, because they know that um, if we can control the epidemic situation and reduce the epidemic spread, so we can develop our economy, and the last thing I want to share is maybe Vietnam want to limit the dependence on China. So, uh, so uh, they try to join to many organizations, and
Yeah.
they join to European agreement, and because they want to export more, and Vietnam has many friendly and cooperative with many countries, and we sign many free trade agreement, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all.
it.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask, you say that they wanted to boost the number of people who were vaccinated against COVID. Do you know what percentage of the Vietnamese population have either had one vaccination or two vaccinations?
Oh, um, I don't know the population of all my country, but maybe in Ho Chi Minh City, the world city has affected by COVID-19. Maybe 100,
Yeah,
maybe 100% um, have a one vaccine.
one vaccine.
Not under 18 years old.
Yeah. That again is similar to England, where initially the vaccination program went well and started early, but then sort of slowed down, so that I think effectively there's only about 60% of the population have had one vaccine, and I think there's about 45% of the population has had two vaccines.
Yes.
Yeah. You haven't commented about the tourist industry in Vietnam, because that must have been very heavily affected by the COVID pandemic. Do
Yes.
you agree?
Yes, I agree with that. Maybe that's the most key factor to have Vietnam to reduce the stress of epidemic.
Yeah. When do you think the country will open up again for foreign tourists?
Foreign tourists. I don't know, because I think the situation be worse now. Uh, before Halloween day, I I have said with you before the Halloween day, many people come to the streets and dress up. I don't understand, and maybe the situation be worse now. And
Mm,
maybe for the tourism, maybe next year. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Because again, in the West and in Europe, a lot of the holidays companies are trying to get people to sign up for holidays with the proviso that they will return most, if not all, of the money people pay as a deposit if COVID doesn't go away. Yeah. So they're booking holidays for December this year and for 2022. But I mean, Vietnam was seen as a place to visit by Europeans and Americans and Canadians.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Because and I'm not being insulting, trying to be insulting when I say this, but the cost of living and the cost of accommodation, etc., is much cheaper than, say, other countries.
yes.
Would you agree with that?
I
Yeah,
agree with that. It's really cheaper with many people.
yeah, yeah. I was doing a small audit of my clothes, and I found that one of these was made in Vietnam,
Oh,
and a couple of pair of trainers were made in Vietnam as well. So when I go to shop, not that I do very often, virtually every set of trainers appears to have been made in Vietnam. Vietnam must be the trainer capital of the world, i.e., a place where most trainers are made. Running shoes, trainers, track shoes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Can we go back to a point you made, which I found very interesting and insightful? You talked about the Vietnamese wish not to be overly dependent on China. And you were saying that the Vietnamese government wanted to look outwards to other countries in the world with agreements and trade agreements. Do you think that will carry on past the COVID pandemic? Or is it simply a response to COVID?
Um, uh, can you repeat your question? I don't get your point. What?
No, you made a point that the Vietnamese government wanted to reduce, i.e., drop down its economic and social dependency on China. Yeah?
Yes,
Have I made that clear for you?
yes, I said that.
Yeah. 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 So do you think that will carry on past the current situation
Oh,
of the COVID-19 pandemic? Or was that simply a response to the economic circumstances created by COVID?
oh, yeah. I think we have to carry on past the COVID epidemic, and we not just do that to respond to the COVID-19, because um, now China have facing to the problem like energy, the shortage of energy, and if Vietnam, do you know that the energy power shortage?
Sorry, I'm not getting your speech. It's breaking up slightly.
Oh,
I'm not getting your speech, and also the picture's slowing down.
oh,
It must be the internet connection. So
can,
could you repeat your last couple of sentences, please?
can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Fine. Very good.
Um, do you know the shortage of the energy power in China?
Yes.
And
Yeah, it's a crisis, isn't it?
oh yeah, the crisis of energy power, and
Yeah.
and because that many manufacturers of Chinese maybe had to close and stop the production, and it's affected to many countries in the world, maybe India and Vietnam and
In, including ours. The price of gas, natural gas, has gone up.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Here to very high levels as a consequence of the Chinese government buying up supplies of natural gas, methane gas. Yes.
oh,
Sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize.
okay, uh, because that so Vietnam now not now not has many influence of that. But if Vietnam too much independent of China, I think it's not good, and maybe the government find another way to solve this problem.
Can I ask another question?
Okay.
Did the Vietnamese government use the Chinese vaccine or
Oh,
the Russian vaccine, or did it use the Pfizer vaccine or the AstraZeneca vaccine?
Yeah, we have many different kind of vaccine, and um, yes, we have used the Chinese vaccine, but at some small hometown like a place I live, uh, some
Yeah.
some old people, they don't want to use the Chinese vaccine.
I won't ask you why that they do not want to use the Chinese vaccine.
I don't
Is
know.
it seen as less? Is it seen as being less effective?
I don't know. They try to use the American or the England vaccine. Maybe that's they just uh, something something from the Chinese they don't want. Maybe I don't know.
That's a very good answer. That is a very good answer. Is there anything else that you want to talk about while you're here, or have you had enough English for tonight?
Um, yeah, I have an answer. I want to ask you that. You said that many European and maybe American people go travel around the world. Uh, and
Yes.
and I see that they can have many time, and at my country, after if I graduated and then I have to work, and maybe I work many time, many day, and um, I don't have maybe a long day to relax and travel like this, and I wonder why people in your area and some area have a long time like this to go travel.
I think it's the. I would say it is only uh, richer people, people with money, richer people who
Oh,
travel widely and extensively. Um, but obviously, if you look at the situation, it is cheaper to visit Vietnam than it would be to visit Japan. I don't know how the Vietnamese say Japan, but in English it's called Japan, or South Korea.
okay.
Your country is seen as much cheaper or better value for their money in terms of experiences, food, sightseeing, the countryside. But the instead of it being $4,000, it's $2,000. You see
Yes,
what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
about
That is the explanation. The other thing, I assume that you don't have the concept in Vietnam, is that European countries and Canadian and American people have the idea of taking a holiday at least once a year for 1, 2, or 3 weeks
that's so long.
during the summer.
Yes, but that's so long. That's long time.
But it is only those people who can afford it and have the pay and conditions of their job to enable them to do that. I think in other countries like South Korea and Japan, while they have a possibility of having a holiday, they don't, because they're expected to be workaholics. They have to constantly go into work to keep things going. So I think it's a Western idea of having a sort of summer break. The other break, which perhaps you might like, is that a lot of English people, French people, and German people go on skiing holidays in the winter. So they get snow. You know what I mean by skiing holidays? Skis?
Oh yes, yes, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, again, that is only for rich people or richer people.
Oh,
So yeah, again, you have to have the money and the time. Right.
yes.
Anything else you'd like to ask?
Oh, so do you drink tea instead of water?
Uh, I'm drinking water at the moment,
Oh,
mineral water,
because
bottled water. Because I've been told by the doctor that I have to drink a lot of water to
oh,
flush my system out. I also drink coffee and I drink tea. I only drink, I suppose, what you would call Indian tea, sort of black tea and black coffee.
oh. In many video in YouTube, they said that England drink tea anytime, anywhere, and they should drink
That's
tea a lot.
that's very true. My father would drink tea with milk at any time in the day. When he first got up in the morning to when he went to bed last thing at night, he would have constant cups of tea or even mugs of tea. Just hang on a minute, show you. Yeah, a mug of tea. See, that size. So he would drink all that, you know, almost every hour. One of those every hour. So one an hour, one at 12 o'clock, one at 1 o'clock, one at 2 o'clock, one at 3 o'clock through the day.
It's so much.
So he would, he would drink almost 12, 12, 12, 12
Yeah,
cups a day.
it's so much, and
So go on.
it's similar to Vietnamese. They don't drink the tea, but they drink the coffee. And
Yeah.
many foreigners come to Vietnam, and they said that the coffee of Vietnamese people is so strong.
Well, the strongest coffee I have ever tasted is, have you heard of a country called Turkey?
No, I haven't.
Greece? Greece?
Oh, yes.
Greece. They have coffee in tiny cups
Oh,
and it's almost solid. There is a little drop of sugar, mostly coffee grounds, and a little bit of water. And you drink it back in one go, but it gives you a terrible headache. It gives you a headache
oh,
because
yes.
there's so much caffeine in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Um, do you know Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Starbucks come to Vietnam and they have a failure because Vietnamese people maybe don't like Starbucks and they want to taste the Vietnamese coffee and maybe that's our habit.
Habit. Yeah. It's a good
Yes,
word. Um, is that because coffee has been grown in Vietnam,
yes.
or is it a throwback to the French colonial era?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I have
No, I mean, is it a long held tradition of Vietnamese people to drink coffee that say predates the French colonial period, or is it from the time of the French colonial period? Because the French like coffee and they like strong coffee.
oh, I never thought about this. Oh, maybe I will search about this before. I don't know.
No. So it's all right. It's a conversation. It's a dialogue, isn't it? I'm learning from you. You're learning from me.
Yeah, but maybe a long time ago we have that habit, and different from the French people. Um, we love to have a coffee after wake up at the sidewalk
Yeah,
store. We
yeah,
like that, and maybe we have a cup of coffee, and then we have breakfast, and then we go to work. Maybe
yeah.
uh, we just
Carry on.
and I don't know about the north side of Vietnam, and this is the south side of Vietnam, and we really relax, and after work we go to the drink, drink.
Alcoholic
Oh yes.
or coffee?
No,
Yeah.
the
What
alcohol.
alcohol?
Oh yes, the drink.
What type of alcohol?
Oh,
Beer,
oh yes.
wine, spirits?
um it depends on the people. Maybe for
Yeah,
my
the person.
the person, for my father, he drink what you say, the alcohol. uh,
Alcohol. Yeah. Well,
no.
whiskey, brandy, wine, beer, beer,
um we have some wine, but maybe it's made from made
rice,
made
rice wine.
yes, yes, rice wine. My
Yeah.
father drink that, but maybe another people go to the sidewalk store, so maybe they will drink the beer.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I would have thought that there would have been a tradition in Vietnam of drinking rice-based alcohol because that was the only um, starchy substance that you could brew from, in effect, or you could create a spirit from. That's good. I'm learning here constantly. I'm learning from you as much as you're learning from me. Any other questions you want to ask?
So in your country, um, they drink. Do they drink, and maybe when do they drink?
It depends on the age of the person.
Oh,
Uh, it depends on the age of the person. If you're young, uh, say you're not supposed to drink alcohol in England below the age of 18.
yes.
Yeah. So you're supposedly only allowed to drink alcohol in a bar or what they call a pub or in a restaurant when you're over 18. It depends on the style of the restaurant. It depends on the style of the bar. So you could have bars that sell only spirits like whiskey, brandy, etc. Or it could be a wine bar that only sold wine. So red wine, white wine, rosé. Or it could be a pub that only sold beer. So light beer, lager, dark beer. Uh, Usually younger people, obviously not during the pandemic, after work, where you said your father would go and drink sort of in the evening in a shop or place that sold alcohol. They would go to a bar as a group, as a work group together, and drink for a couple of hours before they commuted back home, before they went back home. People will go out for celebrations to pubs or bars or restaurants. Have you heard of the concept of a hen party or a stag party?
No. May
Go on.
Maybe that's mean the people keep this food or keep this drink go to the party.
Uh, when people, men and women, get married in England, the men go on a stag night or a stag weekend. The women go on a hen party or a hen weekend, and basically it is almost like they are leaving behind their single life.
Oh yes.
That they're having one last bout of enjoyment amongst their friends. Does that happen in Vietnam?
Maybe I have heard about this, but maybe it depends on the person too. Maybe
Yeah,
not just one night. They have many nights like this. Like
yeah.
maybe they said that maybe I will married on uh, on next month, and then they go to drink a lot. Maybe uh, I don't know. And
Fair enough.
one
Mm.
interesting thing in Vietnam that everyone can go to the store and buy the alcohol like beer. Maybe uh,
Even children.
yes,
Children.
yeah, children 3 or 4 years
Mm.
old, they can go to store and buy alcohol for their uh,
Parents.
yes, parents. It's okay. It's still okay.
Can can they buy cigarettes as well?
I don't know. Maybe they will go to buy. Maybe someone will sell for them. I don't know.
Mm. No, there are restrictions here that children cannot buy cigarettes or alcohol under a certain age,
Oh,
or they have to offer proof of identity, their birth certificate, in effect. Any other questions?
oh no. I no. So
Right. I'll give you a little verbal sort of comment. I think you did very well. You held up your side of the discussion very well, especially when I was probably asking you questions quite directly. You were able to think about the question and answer it in a reasonable time and in a reasonable fashion. So well done, you. I think where you perhaps need to look at your is the flow of conversation as you went on improved dramatically. You got much better at talking and responding the longer you were speaking.
yes,
So that's a good point. Yeah. So that's a
yes.
good thing.
Thank you.
What you need to look at, I think, is your pronunciation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you need to practice perhaps on your own, or perhaps we can talk about it or have just a section about pronunciation. It's a matter for you. I don't want to force your pace. You should try as best you can to learn at your own pace. Yeah? Do you know what I mean by pace? In your own time, you know, as and when you can, because obviously you're busy doing your university course. I think also, from my experience in the past, if you're going to talk to somebody, try and find a fixed point and behind my head. So do you see those black handles up here? Do you see those black handles there? Or there? Try and talk to a point on the back wall and keep your head still, so that it's natural, because you're especially as a non-native speaker, you're stressed. Yes, would you agree? Would you agree it's quite stressful to speak in another language? So if you could keep still, get your posture, and if you are ever asked to deliver a presentation, either in your group or in your university, or if you eventually in your workplace, you know, you need to give it sort of down line and try and keep still, because I think as I do it all the time. I move around a lot when I talk. You know, also I talk at my hands. You don't do that, but try and keep a sort of straight delivery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think you did very well, personally, and I understood